All right, now we're looking at discussions. So discussions, we've talked about them before when we were talking about introduction examples. So this is covering SLO2, where we want effective contact. So this could be student to instructor, instructor to student, or student to student. It could also be student to content, depending on how you frame it. But let's look at the types of discussions. So I include an article there. It's for higher education, but it could really be geared towards any single subject. But basically, humans are typically social creatures. And so we tend to need to contact, to talk to interact with other people. And so the more opportunities we provide our students to do that, the better, the more meaningful their education is, right? That makes their learning become internalized. So interactions, we've talked about this. We've used Flipgrid. In our class, we've used Flipgrid. And so here's some different links on getting started with Flipgrid, building community on the first day or the first week, right, in this online environment with Flipgrid. And then there's something called the Disco Library. So the Disco Library is this storage space of all kinds of activities that companies, different instructors, all kinds of different people have kind of banded together to develop different activities, different discussions that you can use in your class. So explore that when you get the chance. And then I will make some short little videos for you to include in the how to use this with Classroom, Google Classroom, how to set up an assignment with Flipgrid, because it's a little bit different. And they just upgraded, yay! They're updating again in August, so hopefully it doesn't change too much if you're watching this after August. But then we have different types of discussions. So we have whole class. So that means a student's response is visible to the whole class. Now, that might be appropriate for most online classes, but there could be cases where that's not appropriate. So decide for yourself whether that's relevant for your class. But in a fully online asynchronous, so that means not at the same time, all right, then you might have the first week they're posting, and then the second week they're replying to their classmates. And so that would be a best situation for like a semester long or a year long course where you're giving them a week to do their first post and then another week to respond. But in like 8-week, 12-week, 4-week courses, right, that's just not possible. And so sometimes you have to condense that frame of where they can reply and post. Synchronous, you might use something like Zoom, Google Meet, different types of communication technologies, and you'll want to quickly have every student introduce themselves. It could be through chat, it could be through video, it could be through mic, audio, right? And then once you set the standards, once you have them practice the communication norms that you're planning them to follow, then you can do smaller groups and then let them delve deeper into who they are in those smaller groups. For partially online, you might have them introduce themselves separately and then come together at different parts of the day or different parts of the week to contribute to a class kind of introduction or a class mural. And so this way they are introducing themselves online, but they're also introducing themselves through artifacts in person. And so if you're doing like half class one day or a quarter of the class one day, then they can take turns adding to that group project or that group kind of cultural identity. Okay, so correspondence or correspondence-like classes, they might introduce themselves, but that introduction might only be visible to the instructor. And so if that's the case, it is beyond important that the instructor respond, right? The instructor in this case absolutely has to respond to each and every individual student so they know that they are heard. Now in the other ones, it's definitely recommended, but it's not like a requirement. So for correspondence and correspondence-like classes, the instructor must respond to each of the students because no other students is going to respond to them in those cases. You also have small group, and then you have pairs and triads. And then I list some different types of communication tools that might be relevant. And so this will change as technology changes, as we get new tools, as things come and go. But this is what we have right now as I'm posting this video. But for your orientation module, what you want to do is focus on the introduction assignment. So what in that introduction assignment, and I'm trying to scroll back to it. There we go. So what in that introduction assignment are you going to do in that? So remember, we're kind of building our orientation module, that introduction module, that week 1 module. So what do you want your student to introduce about themselves? And my videos are going to be about Flipgrid. You don't have to use Flipgrid. If there's something else you want to use, you're welcome to use discussion boards, because we've done those before. Those work especially for older students who are able to type complete sentences or make videos. Remember, it is a little bit more complicated to do a discussion in Canvas. I'll do Google Classroom as well, but that is a requirement for your orientation module. Have some kind of introduction assignment. Now, I'm not going to be grading on whether you require people to interact with each other, students to interact. It's just, do you include that opportunity for students to introduce themselves, either to other students in the class or to the instructor, right? And so that is your discussions overview.